Well, the Field Museum just launched its latest Changing Face of Science exhibit.
The series, which kicked off in 2022, aims to highlight women and/or scientists of color, therefore challenging dated expectations of who can be a scientist.
Joining us now is the scientist behind this year's featured exhibit, Sara Ruane, Associate Curator of Reptiles at the Field Museum. Sara, thank you for joining us here on the show. I'd love for you to start off with how you got into science and specifically studying reptiles and amphibians.
Sure thing. So thank you for having me. So ever since I was a little kid, I have always been wild about going outside and catching things. And in particular, I would spend the weekends with my grandparents, and I would go out for walks in the woods with them. And my grandmother would always say, hey, let's flip these rocks over, or let's flip this log over, and let's see what's underneath it. And I would flip these things over and see salamanders or frogs or snakes, and I always wanted to catch them and bring them home and put them in an aquarium and look at them. And so that's really what got me started as a kid, and it sort of just never went away.
Well, clearly you're wearing, for lack of a better word, you're wearing a snake right now as we chat.
I did not see at first.
All right, what can visitors of your Changing Face of Science exhibit learn?
So one of the things highlighted by this snake here is that snakes actually can live a really, really long time. So the snake I have here with me today is actually a personal pet, and I got this snake back in 1994.
Wow.
And so this snake is over 30 years old at this point, and he still has probably another 20 or 30 years left in him. And so one of the really cool things that I think people are going to be surprised about is some of these little facts about reptiles and about snakes in particular that they're going to get when they come to this exhibit.
Oh, speaking of that, you've traveled around the world studying snakes. So what's the coolest quick fact about snakes that people can learn in the exhibit?
So one of the things that I think people are going to be really excited to see is some of the new species of snakes that I've described personally during my own work, and the fact that it's not just about how the snake looks physically or externally that helps us figure out it's a new species, but it's also by using DNA and sequencing DNA and then comparing it to other known species and seeing, is it really different, or is it just different enough that maybe we would be best describing this animal as its own separate species altogether. So that's one of the things that's highlighted in the exhibit here.
Okay, what does it mean for you, though, to be featured in this exhibit celebrating women and people of color in science? It's pretty significant.
Yeah, and so what I would say, what I really wanted when I started putting this together with the exhibits team and what was the message I wanted to send is that as a scientist, I am really multifaceted. I think there's a stereotype about scientists still that persists, that scientists are sort of stodgy and super, super serious. And one of the things about this exhibit that I'm really trying to bring to it is that as a woman, I like things that have been considered sort of traditionally feminine over time. And so there's nothing wrong with being a scientist and being taken seriously as a scientist. And I still want to go home and maybe drink a Cosmopolitan and watch a Lifetime movie and paint my toenails. And you can be a scientist and love doing those kinds of things. And it doesn't take away anything from who you are when it comes to your research or to how serious you are about your job. It's just another facet of my personality.
I love that message.
Yeah, definitely. Sara Ruane, a Field Museum
Everybody should be who they are.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us here on this show and your snake pet since the 90s. So cool. The Field Museum's latest Changing Face of Science exhibit will be on display from now through early next year, so lots of time to enjoy it, and it's included in your basic admission.